Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies. I'm your host, Annette, and our guest today is Danielle. I love this girl, right? We just actually met like probably
6 months ago.
6 months ago. So mother of three crazy boys, all teenagers, which is insane. If you have teenage boys, you know what she's going through right now. And she owns a very successful hair salon, right? So she did my hair. Look at how beautiful I am now.
Oh, you were beautiful before.
So before we get started, Danielle, I always ask the guests what their process was putting the playlist together. And I know it took you some time, but that's okay. It takes a lot of people time, right? Because it's such a, well, for me, I think it's an amazing experience. But how was the process picking your songs, your experience with that?
So it was tricky because I found that the songs that I love are cyclical, and they're cyclical to the season, right? Like there's some songs that I love in the winter. There's just something about it. And there's some songs that are really good for driving in the summer, that's where that memory is from. So that's what was tricky, was trying to figure out which ones I really just love and which ones I liked for the season. I think I kind of picked more seasonal for all.
No, I love it. I love your playlist. If you were to describe your playlist to somebody though, what would you say?
I don't even know. All over the map.
I love it. It's so funny, been doing this. This is probably my 29th episode. And I thought that people would really be like just into country or just into pop or just into rock. And it's crazy to think that they're all over the map like me. And I think that's why we're friends. Yeah, like if I really break it down, it's like, because your music selection is all over the place and so is mine.
Yeah, and it is, it's crazy. And I've always been like that. Like I love some artists, but I don't love every song.
Yeah.
And that works. That's why my playlists are my
playlists. I love it. Okay, we're going to start with your first song. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Under Pressure
by Queen.
Yeah, great song.
It is a great song. And this one, I just love the sound. And it's Queen. Who doesn't love Queen? Yeah. It's really about what is your favorite song of Queen's, and I think that's it.
Did you grow up listening to a lot of Queen?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
It was something that came more later on in life.
Okay.
And then that song came on the first time I heard it. I thought it was Ice Baby.
Yeah, well,
right?
We kind of stole the beginning. So.
And I was like, oh, what is this? And I just like the words and I like the sound, and then that just became a mainstay.
So how long have you been a hairstylist for?
25 years.
Wow. So what got you into that industry?
I've always done hair, whether or not it was good or not when I was 13. I just have always done it. Like I always liked doing it. And then I got into it and I guess I like it. And I think the more that I've done it, like 25 years later, I enjoy doing hair, but I think I enjoy my people more.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that nice one-on-one time that I get with everybody that I really appreciate.
So what is the worst hair story that you have been a part of?
Oh, Lord. I'm trying to think. You know what? I'm going to do the one with my sister. And I don't think she was still in high school. So I wouldn't have been too old. She was, say, maybe 16. So I would have been 22. So I'd only been in the business for like a couple of years. And she wanted baby bangs because that was super popular then, like those bangs that were super short.
That looks ridiculous, by the way.
And no, maybe that isn't what she wanted. That's what they ended up being. And I went and I was going to thin them out with thinning shears, and I had grabbed a nice big chunk and done my twist because I was going to give like this nice piecey look, and I grabbed my shears instead of my thinners. And like
cut all her bangs off.
So we had to give her baby.
Did she lose it?
My family's been pretty patient with me, actually.
All
the screw-ups.
So did all your friends come to you in high school and want you to like braid their hair or do their hair?
No, not really. Just kind of something I started and then built my clientele like separate from my friendships.
Yeah.
Which was okay.
So what were you like growing up in high school? Were you a bad girl?
not really bad, but I could be when I wanted to be.
What's the baddest thing you did in high school?
Probably.
Like maybe you didn't even get caught for it.
Oh, I don't know if I did get caught, but I would probably say telling your mom you're at somebody's house, but really not somewhere else, or drinking your face off at a outdoor party when you maybe shouldn't have been doing that.
Did you go to a lot of bush parties or?
There were bush parties, out at the lake.
Yeah. So what age do you start pounding back the liquor?
I probably tried it in grade 9 and then probably grade 10. But it was only like 2 or 3 times a year. It wasn't a lot, but it was always, there was no idea what the limit was.
So lots of hacking in the bush.
Or on the way home. I just sneak out a lot because my parents are really strict. So there was a lot of sneaking out and puking on the way home.
So did you go out the window or out the front door when you snuck
right out the window? And I was in the basement, and like we had this yappy little dog that would always run around. My friends would jump the fence to come into the yard, and there was this extra long downspout that everybody tripped over. And then they'd like knock on my window, "We're here." Okay, out the window.
So we lived in this house that had like a peak like you could not even imagine. And it had these, on one side of the house was like just a drop, you're dead, right? You're in the neighbor's yard, you broke your leg. On the other side though, was like a roof that went kind of like a slant. But we had these windows that you would pull open this way, so pull down. And they were like 3x8, right? So thank God I was 70 pounds.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend, Autumn, she would do this all the time, but she'd do this drunk. So she would jump on the roof. Somehow she'd climb her way on the roof. And then she would scale the roof up the one side. At first, we were really good. We would just go in that way, like the first window, but we busted that fucking window. So I always kept it closed for my parents would never know.
That's funny that you say that, because ours you had to pull up and then kind of push back into place. And when you were sneaking back in, I'd be knocking on my brother's door. "Hey, window is broken. Too drunk to deal with that. Fix that."
So then she would scale that and then slide down the other side and like catch herself and then knock on my window and then open it. And then she would scale back up, slide down. I would scale up, fall down, and we'd be out for the night. And I don't even know how many times we'd get caught. So what my parents would do is they would just flick on the light. So when I came back from the parties,
you would know.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit. Do I go in the window still? Do I go in the front
Because
door?
they probably didn't want you going and stealing, right?
They replaced those windows like 3 times. First, they had the ones that you just pull up.
Yeah.
And our house was like from 1918. Right. It was so old.
That's so funny.
You would walk and the windows would rattle. Like, we're never getting out of this house. We're going to have to sneak. And then the stairs, because my parents' bedroom were right beside my bedroom, and we had sneaky, like squeaky stairs.
Yeah.
So. It's hard. It's hard to sneak out nowadays.
Yeah, I know.
Every house that we bought or built with our kids, we had windows there on the top floor. So I don't know how they would have got out of the house. I don't know.
My kid just walked out the front door. He's like, "I know exactly which stairs to not step on." Oh, that's great.
That's great. Right, next song. Okay. I haven't heard this song forever.
Oh, True Colors by Cyndi Lauper.
This is one of my favorite songs. I love Cyndi Lauper growing up.
Yeah, and like always loved her growing up. But I think as I got older and my kids were kind of hitting school, then I really understood the words to the song. And then that has just now also been in my list because I just like the meaning of it, because it is so true. Everybody has pretty awesome stuff inside of them. You just have to find it.
I agree. I totally agree. So what kind of guys did you date in high school?
All the hockey players.
You did?
I did.
Oh,
I loved them.
Like all of them at the same time?
No, but there would have been for sure 2. And then one that didn't go away to play hockey. Yeah, that was who I liked, were the hockey boys. And I don't know why. They just charmed me.
So any long-term hockey player relationships or just like a hit it and quit it?
Like kind of, but then like they moved away. And then that was the end of that. And then
Yeah.
the one kind of was, but then that ended as well, which was a good thing.
So when did you meet your husband? How long have you been married for?
Oh gosh, now you're gonna make me do the math again. 19 years this year, but
Okay.
we've been together since 98, so 23.
Wow. So how'd you guys meet?
Well, I did his aunts and uncles' hair. So he's from Manitoba,
Okay.
and I actually knew his cousins. They lived in town, and he had moved out here. And I had actually started doing this husband and wife's hair. I didn't even know they were married. And then one day I figured out that they were married. And then they're like, you need to meet our nephew. And I'm like, all right, I'll meet him. Well, we'd all been at the rodeo one day because his roommate was trying to date one of my coworkers. And I'm sitting beside this guy who every time he opened his mouth, I was like, shut up.
So he's a real charmer.
Oh, not even. And not dressed like he was nothing like what I would have dated. It was like, oh my God, who is this loser? And then I had actually been there to watch their son, who was 5 in the little britches, ride a sheep. And she was like, after she's like, that's my nephew. And
You're like,
looked,
no.
I'm like, shit. So I skipped out for the rest of the night. Like rodeo is usually when you go out and go like have major party fun. And I was like, I am going home because I want nothing to do with that. And then they called me about a month later and said, you should come to this house party. Okay. And then I got to know him when he wasn't around, like he was in a different setting and it was a little bit different. So then, yeah, that was the end of that.
So he asked you out on a date.
Yeah. Well, kind of.
And then how many dates before you guys had sex?
Oh God, I don't even remember. Probably not enough.
So what attracted you most to him when you were obviously attracted to him?
I don't even remember.
What do you love about him right now?
We've just had COVID and been home a lot together. There's not a whole bunch. Do you know what? He's just a good guy to be around. Like he's pretty easygoing. So even though he forgets a lot of things, because he does, he's like, I don't care if you go away for a weekend and take, right? Like, I don't care if you go away and do that. I don't care if you do that or, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that way.
So he's easygoing.
He is easygoing, yeah.
That's good. So 23 years, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do to keep it still spicy?
You know what? We live pretty separate lives. So I would have to say that probably works the best.
So you're not throwing any crazy wigs on and
No.
any weird dress up parties or anything like that?
No.
So yeah, you ever grew up with a nickname?
Very few people call me Danny, but that's it.
Okay, where'd that come from? Just short for
Just
Danielle?
shortening it, yeah.
And how did you feel about that?
Didn't bother me. It didn't bother me because my mom was really big on people not shortening names. You go by the name that you were born with and that she gave you. And so it didn't even really hit until later on, like grade 9-ish. And like very few people. It's like a handful of people call me that. Yeah.
I think if somebody called me Anna, I'd lose my shit.
Well, because it's not.
I don't like it.
And it's not Annette. They're two totally different names.
My parents, they drank a lot and they drank with this girl named Anne. And she was a redhead and she had like this massive ass. And she would just sit in our living room when she was hammered and just sing. Just randomly sing all night. She'd just sing. And I'm like, please don't call me.
Yeah,
Anne.
right.
Don't call me Anne.
Yeah.
All right. Next song. It's a good song. Coldplay.
Thanks you. Yeah. And I like this one too.
It's a beautiful song.
I like the words. Like I really do like the words, but this was one of the ones that when I had started running, I could put it on and slow my cadence down and then speed it up into the same song. So it was just really good for some training. But then I just like the song and my kids really like this song. They just sing random verses from Fix You Around the House on a regular basis.
No way.
Yeah.
So when did you get into running?
Okay, I would have started when Lachlan was in grade 2, so 7, so he's 18, or like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I ran pretty heavy for about 5 years. And then I started CrossFit and running. I could hardly move from muscle soreness, so I kind of quit running. And then my calf got torn and I have never really been able to run since. Yeah.
Do you miss it?
Sometimes I do, but then if I try, my body hurts so bad. I'm like, you can't do that anymore.
Was it a way for, like, was it part of your escape? Was it
It
like,
was definitely part of my escape because Mike was gone all the time. Like he was never home at that time. He was always gone working. And my middle son had some issues. So I just needed to get away from everything. So that was what I started to do, was just start running. And the more I started to run, the more I loved it. The more I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. And it did. It always felt so good.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes I miss it. Walking doesn't give off quite the same level of endorphins,
Yeah, for sure.
but it's okay.
What's been your favorite family trip together or vacation or memory?
Probably Seattle is
Yeah.
one of our favorites. Yeah, it's just a fun one. So the first time, well, we took Lachlan when he was one. I have cousins there. And that was just fun. Like we just went and hung out, kind of saw the city. And then the second time we surprised the kids with the Sounders game because our kids are huge soccer fans. And my cousin got us the tickets and we were like right at the field. And it was just such a cool experience. And that was just fun. And then we went to like, it kind of gave them their dream. And then I'm like, it's 12 hours in the vehicle to the Redwood Forest. I want to see it. I want to go there. We're going. Everybody's going to shut up. And we are going. And so we did. And my kids are kind of like, they get really irritated at the beginning of a hike. It's almost like they don't want to do it. So I have to ignore them for about 20 minutes. And then they're like immersed in nature and they're okay, right? Because I believe that nature, trees are our breathing buddies. And I think usually you just have to let yourself go.
Yeah. Breathe.
And then you're okay. And when we were in there, it was just incredible once they calmed down. Like everybody was just like so peaceful and calm. That was probably my favorite trip.
So how is it raising 3 teenage boys? Like how much, t-shirts are in the closet that you can bend in half?
There's some pretty gross shit.
Oh man, there must be like steaming all over the place.
And I just choose to ignore it. I tried to make it such a non-issue because that wasn't something that was comfortable being spoken about in our house.
Yeah.
So in my house, I'm like, nope. I can't even remember how it came up, but I'm like, no, you just go. I think it was something about we were having consent talk. And I said, like, you're way too young to be doing things right now. And I told them that. And I'm like, and if you really need to, you can just go home and do the job yourself. And they were like, oh my gosh. But then they realized that it was okay to ask me stuff like that, talk about it. But I was like, I didn't actually want to know.
Yeah. See, that's the thing when you have boys. That's what I've noticed with my son. He's very open. Like he was very open growing up. And I was like, I don't want to know that you finger banged a girl. Like I really do not want to know this at all. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
But thank you for sharing. I like, it's awesome that, we have this relationship that you believe that you can share with me.
Oh, for sure.
But it was a lot. Like Tyler would like leave the room and I'd be like, no, these are conversations you have with your dad. Like hey, you want to talk about that stuff? But no, I got them all. From both of them.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I get it from all the boys, and Mike can be sitting right in the same room and you can see him turn body language. He's like, I'm on my phone, and I'm like, I have 3 boys, this is yours, you get this.
Yeah, they're talking about jerking off. Like I can't handle this.
Last year I got asked what foreplay was, and I got asked by the kid that's never afraid to ask anything, and they said it, and all of them were in the living room, and I'm like, give me a second.
How deep do I get into
I'm
this?
like telling Mike telepathically, I'm like, answer this.
Okay, so I'm curious, what answer did you give? Like how deep did you get into it?
Well, so, and I'll tell you after what I have learned. I said, foreplay are activities that you do to get the vagina ready to accommodate the penis for sex. And that's what I said. My youngest son got up and he's like, oh my God. My middle son's like, it's okay. As soon as her vagina, he's like, stop. And I'm like, you asked, I'm telling you. And so then I can't remember what else I said. And my oldest was laughing. And after I'm like, so how was that? Because I'm like still mad, like seething at Mike. I'm like, jump in anytime. They need to hear this from their dad. And he goes, it was okay. It was a little feminine, like, or a little feminist. And I'm like, what? He goes like, it was kind of all about the girl. I'm like, look, dude, if you've done all your job and you're not ready to go, I'll take you to the doctor. And then I'm like, but I was worried because my middle son, I'm like, you don't even have a girlfriend. Like, why are you asking this question? And he goes, well, like, you know, the 70s show? Yeah. You know Eric Foreman on it? Yeah. Well, they always call him foreplay. I wanted to know what. I'm like, lead with that.
Next time.
Lead with that.
Next time, just lead with that.
So somebody actually said to me recently, just ask them if they want the whole or just a little skim off the top.
Like that was actually very
scientific.
Yeah. Like I'm still confused what foreplay is.
Oh, and I had said some other things, right? Like kissing and touching and, you know, like,
Yeah.
but I said like things that you do to just get things ready.
Are you guys listening? Right? Things to do to get things ready.
Maybe don't let your kids watch this one.
Try to ram it in there. Jesus. Warm us up first. Next song. This is like one of my favorite songs.
I love this song.
Yeah. Just Breathe, Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
I'm actually very sad that I never got to see them live.
I know. And I've had like the opportunity. Like they were close enough
I know.
to Brooks even, but I never did get to go.
What's your memory or why do you love that song so much?
I don't know why I do. You know what? I always have liked Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've ever loved them.
Yeah.
But that song I love the sound of it. It's just so soft and flowy and it's a good, you know, like that's all you have to do when you're having a bad day or moment is breathe.
I know.
Yeah. And
that's such a good way to put it. It's very true though.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do. And then it was on that one movie with Katherine Heigl and Josh Duhamel, Life as We Know It.
Oh, okay.
And then I kind of just fell in love with it a little bit more.
Yeah. So do you have any musical talents?
Not really, no.
Singing,
I like to
play
sing.
guitar.
I love to sing.
Okay.
When my youngest was learning guitar, I really enjoyed trying, but it hurt my fingers so bad, so I quit. And I have the attention span of a fruit fly, right? Like for stuff like that, like I get really overwhelmed with everything in front of me. So it's just best if I sing and I can just copy what they're doing.
So do you sing like while you're just kind of working, doing stuff? Do you like to prefer in the shower? Or are you like, oh, as soon as I get in the car, I got my playlist?
In the car is huge. Like I love to sing in the car. That's like my favorite thing to do. And one of my kids is really like, it's so fun when he's in the car with me and we're singing together because he loves to sing too. My other ones are like, not that. That's not what we're listening to, Mom.
What's your favorite concert you ever been to?
My favorite one?
Or ones that's just one that maybe stood out?
Def Leppard was pretty fun. That was actually really fun.
Was that like recently?
No, that was like my first date after I'd had my first baby.
Oh, nice.
And Matchbox 20 was actually a really fun one too.
Yeah.
I remember that one. That one was just like a drunken gong show, but it was pretty fun. Rolling Stones was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to say Def Leppard. It was pretty fun.
So you love to go to shows, obviously.
Oh yeah, you too, actually. I always forget about that one. I do, but I don't go very often. I have to really love the music to go. Like more than 2 or 3 songs.
I drag Tyler to like everything. So I'll tell you, before COVID, I think it was the winter before COVID. And like when we first met, he's like different plane. Like I love everything. The only thing I was never really exposed to a lot of country, but I've heard a lot of country. And then kind of his punk, like the punk that I listened to was like Butthole Surfers, Dead Milkman, that kind of punk. And his punk was like Vandals, Bouncing Souls, stuff like that. So I never really heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
So when we met and we kind of, merged our music together, I was like literally everything. So everything that he heard, he was like, I've never heard of these people. So I just randomly take him to concerts. So the one that we took him to like 4 years ago, I took him to Platinum Blonde, and he was like, so I bought tickets always like first to third row. So I don't want to miss out on anything. And he's like, literally, we couldn't sit in the back. Anyways, we get this incredible snowstorm and he is like, yes, like highways are shut down. There's no concert. And I'm like sitting on the couch and I'm just like, this fucking sucks. Like I'm upset. I want to go see Platinum Blonde. And it's like a half an hour. I think it was like started show at 7. It's like 7:30 and he's looking outside and he's like, do you seriously want to go? I'm like, yeah. He's like, there's nobody on the, I'm like, we'll get there in fucking 20 minutes. Let's go. So we
And nobody's
totally
on the
got
road,
there.
So let's go.
And the concert was still on, and it was just full of 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds hammered. I've never seen a concert like this. I'm talking like loser pissed when we got there. And everybody was just jamming out to
having so
Platinum
much
Blonde.
fun, crying over you,
Yeah,
probably.
crying over you.
Yeah, because that's what they listened to when they were.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love them so much, one of my girlfriends, or my ex's sister, dated Mark Holmes,
Oh.
the lead singer of Platinum Blonde. And she used to always say that he has a bent dick. So he was like this bent dick. So he was like really heavy on the left side of the stage. And I was like, just going off. I'm like, his dick is bent to the left, honey. This is why he's always on the left side of the stage.
And then the
He's
extra
like, what is
information.
wrong with you? And he didn't know any of the music at all, right? And of course
That's
I
funny.
did. And he's just like, I can't believe how many drunk people are here. Like, these people are just
That
hammered.
is so funny. I remember when we went to Def Leppard, my friend was like, you need to wear 80s clothes. I'm like, oh, I'm getting dressed up. Like, this is the first time I've been out in like 3 months. And then we went there. I'm like,
I need
I
I need
wear
a
the 80s clothes.
I need a pair of jeans and a rock shirt. All right. Speaking of you too,
Hmm.
where the streets have no names,
Yeah,
right? It's a
Yeah,
great song,
it
actually.
is.
I don't know. Do you know kind of the backing of this
Of that song? No, I don't.
Well, I feel like the last 3 episodes, people have had this song.
Oh,
in
I
there.
didn't even notice. That's hilarious.
And it's a really cool story behind that song. I don't know like all in detail, but it is about a place in Ireland where the streets have no names, and how people would know what type of person you were was the environment, or your environment that you grew up in,
Oh.
because they would tell you like what religion you were, if you were rich or poor or anything like that. So they had no street signs. They just knew, oh, you're from here, that means you're wealthy, you believe in
Wow.
God. Yeah, so it was really cool when I was looking into that song.
That
I was
is
like,
really
yeah,
cool. Yeah, no, and I just love you too. I always have. That's another band where it's like, pick a song.
yeah,
This is a good one in the summer because I love it when I'm driving at twilight and the windows are down and it's
Yeah.
hot, and it just has so many like summer feelings
Yeah.
that go with it.
So you have any pet peeves?
A few.
Yeah, let's hear a couple.
So one would be fork biting, and I can say that because last night my family was driving me bananas.
Fork biting.
You know, like when you're eating a meal and somebody like,
Oh,
it like seriously hurts me to the core of my very being. My family likes to do it just to make me mad. I'm one of those people that can't handle people chewing.
yeah.
And so they like to sometimes do stuff, and then it's like I get up and I completely leave the area, which worked better than me yelling at them.
Yeah.
So that's a huge pet peeve. And lying.
Oh.
I would say lying is like a huge one. I hate.
What's
being
the
lied
most
to.
recent lie you've been told?
This was yesterday. Again, 3 teenage boys and a man that live in the house. And I went to the dishwasher and somebody had just thrown 2 bowls in. Not the way they went, like right side up, like completely just sitting there. And I'm like, who did this? And not one person did.
Oh, that's weird.
And I'm like, the ghost that lives in our house. And they
Magic.
were mad. They were mad at me. Because my attitude when I asked them about it, I'm like, because I have to fix this every day.
Like there's
Don't
still
do
milk
this.
in this bowl.
Well, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. I'm like, it's never anybody. So yeah, that was the most recent lie I was told. I was mad.
You know Ayla, our daughter.
Yeah.
So she was fairly young. I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. She could have been a little bit older. I can't remember. But me and Tyler went out somewhere, and we came. No, she had to have been older than if we went out. But we came back. We went downstairs in the basement, and the glue gun was on. And it was just on a piece of cardboard. Not a big deal, but it was turned on. It could have potentially started a fire. Who knows, right? So we go upstairs. We call the kids down. We're like, who left the glue gun on? Not me. Isaiah's like, not me. I'm like, well, fuck, one of you left it on. Nope. I'm like, okay. Well, looks like you guys are going to do some chores until one of you come free. And they're like, what? And literally had them clean the whole, and we had like a 3,600 square foot home. Literally, they cleaned the whole entire house. I'm talking vacuuming, wash floors, windows.
And neither one of them.
They wouldn't break.
Oh my
I was like, at
gosh.
first I was like, okay, this is impressive because they're not ratting each other out. This is good. I taught them well. And then after like 3 hours, I'm like, holy fuck, like this is getting ridiculous. I'm running out of shit to get you to clean. And then I'm like, okay, come down here. Nope, we didn't do it. I didn't do it. Okay, great. Go get your toothbrushes. And they're like, what? Go get your toothbrushes. And we had black ceramic tile. And I'm like, you're scrubbing the grout with your toothbrushes. And they're like, what the hell? So they did that for like an hour and a half. They're still not breaking. And then literally me and Tyler were sitting at the table and I'm like, what else are we going to get them to do? And Ayla turned around like the exorcist. I'm not even kidding. She's like, this is child abuse. And we're just like, we tried not to laugh, but we were like, oh my God, this is so hilarious. And I'm like, well, you're not coming clean. And she's like, I left it on. And I'm like, so you admit it? She's like, yeah, but I didn't turn it on or something like that. So it wasn't specific enough for her. And I'm like, you just did like 7 hours of chores. And because I didn't ask you properly.
Yep.
Oh man. And finally Isaiah was just like, thank God. But he he did not break.
That's my kids too. Like they don't break. Like I can tell what their lies are before they even come out of their mouth. Like my oldest would do this. I'm like, oh my God, just tell the truth.
Yeah, what's
like
happening?
You're gonna lie. Like I know it's then he'd tell the lie and I'd call him out and he's like, no, and the same thing. Chores, everything. Nope, nothing. And then my middle one doesn't lie, but my youngest one is good. He is so good at it. And it makes me so mad because I know, but you can't break him.
I know.
I'm like short of like.
It's a little knock to the side of the head. All right, this is my new favorite song.
I do love this song.
This Angels on the Moon.
Thriving Ivory.
I've never heard it. It is so beautiful.
I know the words and everything about it is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I love, this was another one that I actually would put on to go, like it was a good mid-run song. I liked it because the cadence was really good in it.
Yeah.
I think I found it. You remember how when you could buy like MP3 players back in the day, they'd come with prefab music on it? That was on there.
No way.
And I was like, this is the best song I've ever heard.
I know. I love the voice. I love the voice.
And the words, the message is good. Yeah.
What was your first? I don't know if you're as old as me. So do I say tape?
Well, I'm 45.
Okay. So what was your first tape or LP?
I don't even know what it would have been.
What'd you listen to back then, growing up in high school?
Like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper, probably Glass Tiger, maybe.
Nice.
I don't know if I ever owned Def Leppard, but I did love Def Leppard.
So were you a rocker growing up in high school or?
No, I think I was into country at that point.
Oh, no.
I kind of, right, like, because everybody listened to something different.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever you were hanging out with is kind of like what it was. And it was kind of like the people with the really kick-ass stereos in their truck. That's what you liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was one of those people.
With a kick-ass stereo.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
I loved them. They were
during
like
like lunchtime, just go and open up my hatchback and have my boombox back there and listen to some Slippery When Wet.
Yeah, Bon Jovi would have been like an absolute.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so funny.
So we're gonna get a little bit deeper in the questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Have you ever been attracted to the same sex before?
No.
Never.
No.
Never kissed a girl.
No, and zero desire to do so.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, 80% of women, I feel.
You'll say that. I can say that a woman is beautiful, and I will look at her and say, "Wow, she is drop dead gorgeous." But to think of no.
So you never want to switch sides.
No.
How about faked an orgasm?
Oh, lots.
So do you fake looking in the eyes or do you turn away?
Probably turn away. Yeah. Probably not good enough to fake looking somebody right in the face.
What's the strangest thing you've ever bought?
The strangest thing I've ever bought? I don't know.
Are you a collector of anything?
Crystals. I collect crystals, but I don't really think that's weird.
Have you ever been given like a really awful gift that you're like, this is amazing? Thank you.
I'm sure I have. I can't even think of what it is though. But no, I'm not really a collector of things. Like, No, and I don't even know what the weirdest thing would be that I purchased. I'm pretty normal that
Are
way, I
you?
think.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I like to buy old furniture and
Okay.
refurnish it.
And then do you sell it or just keep it?
Oh, I can't sell anything that I create. Like, I'm actually really bad. My family's like, you should sell that. That's amazing. It looks incredible. And I'm like, no, that's my heart.
Just because you love to
Keeping it.
paint, don't you?
I love to do so many things. Yeah.
So what are some of your hobbies that you love to do?
I like walking and hiking. Like, those I think are pretty obvious.
So where do you go in Alberta for that most of the time? When you go walking?
So Waterton was huge for a long time.
Okay.
We would go there every year. So we would just go because my kids were so busy, and we usually had sports till the middle of August. So we usually had like 5 days between the end of sports and school starting where I was like, let's go. We get up and drive to Waterton. And so there was fun. But recently we've been doing Banff.
Oh,
And
nice.
so last year we did Holling, and I did it because we've always wanted to do it, and it was hell.
Yeah.
I did not know.
I
I was
your
like,
cast would burn that
oh my gosh. And then we got up to like the top, and there's like a scramble. And I'm like, my boys were already up there. They've been up there for quite some time. It took me that long to get up there. And I'm like, I finally text him like, I just heard that you're gonna have to be on your hands and knees. And like, I'm not doing this. Scared. Starting back down. And it was exhausting. But
Yeah.
I was really proud of my kids because as much as they blah blah, you know, like they don't want to do it. And a couple times they're like, I think we're done. They finished without me.
Good.
And then they come back down and say they hate it. But just recently they're like, we should do that again this summer.
That's
I'm
cool.
like, okay. So then actually we just went to Fernie and did some stuff too.
Nice.
It's pretty fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I love doing that. I do like working out. My body tells me that I do too much, but that's okay. And I do like to paint.
Yeah.
Like to paint furniture or pictures or.
I love that.
I do.
So I feel like, you know, anytime I've ever had like a reading or seen a psychic or anything like that, they're always like, oh my God, you're so creative. And I'm like, but I'm not. Like, I felt like I've tried to paint that.
It didn't work.
Yeah, like just give me a wall. If I could just smash stuff into it, then that's my type of painting. Writing, I'm not really good with words. Anybody knows me, I can't fucking spell right. So I'm not a writer. So like when you think of creativity, I'm like not there. And then when I started doing this podcast and just with music, I'm like, oh, this is my creativity. This is me. So I always like just thought being creative was writing or painting because that's what was in my thoughts.
But it's so many things.
Yeah.
Like
So
really
now I
is.
feel very creative.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good outlet.
Yes.
And I know when I don't have it, if it's been too long, sometimes I start stuff and I'm like, I get frustrated and I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? That was the dumbest idea you've ever had. And then I'm like, but you need to finish it. So I will walk away. Sometimes it's months before I get back to it. And then I need it. It's like, and then I can sit there for 6 to 8 hours and I just work on it. Yeah. Yeah. And clay. I actually recently started working with clay and I love that.
Oh.
Just a little messy. That's the only thing I hate is I do truly need a space in my house where I can just walk out and shut the door and not worry about the pile of crap everywhere.
I love this song, your next song, Don't Stop Believing.
Oh, this is just one of my favorite songs.
I feel like this song is on so many people's playlists.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Journey and Garth Brooks here together and just be like, just for you know.
Yeah, these are the songs
people love.
And that's just
this
the best song. And I don't even know what it is. It's just a good song.
It's a great song.
Yeah, and I think I really started loving that one. I had been doing half marathons. Like when I started running after I got training, I'm like, well, if you're gonna run, you're signing up for some runs and you're gonna do these. And that was always on my playlist about when I was like ready to fall apart, which was usually, you know, almost at the end, like the last 3 miles, and it just totally pumped you right up. But it's just a good song. Like everybody likes it.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It brings the fun to every party.
It does.
I think.
Yeah, if it's like kind of a dead party, you just go and play that song and people are like this and then fun. Don't stop.
Yeah.
What's the worst song you've ever heard?
Oh, it's probably some rap songs that my kids listen to.
So your kids are into rap?
Huge. And some of it I like. Some of it is really, I'm like, oh, that's good. Like one of the songs is called Man of the Year by Juice WRLD. And they're like, Mom, we think you might like this one. And I actually love this song. It's really good. But then there's some songs, like my oldest was 14. So we were really kind of getting into some stuff with him. And he had this song on cranked. I dropped his brothers off at one school and he had it cranked and it was talking about pussy juice. And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked at him, I'm like, and he turns off, he goes, I forget that you actually listen to the words. And I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really understand those songs either.
I was like,
Why are you talking about that? What the hell's going on?
yeah. So I don't know what the exact song is called.
Yeah,
I remember
Pussy
that
Juice.
moment though.
Google it. There's probably 95,000
I was just
fucking
gonna
rap
say
songs
that.
called
Yeah.
that. Or
And
just
some
has it
of them
in
I like, but some of them I'm like, it hurts my whole.
I have a gangster friend. She's totally not, but Corey's wife, Beth,
She likes rap.
she like has a natural resting bitch face. And she's like the sweetest person in the entire world, but she likes gangster rap.
That's hilarious.
I know, it blows me away.
Yeah, like I'm learning to like it because Lachlan sings it and makes his own music, but it's him, so I love him. So of course I love his stuff, but I'm like,
So if you're a stripper, what would be your stripper name?
I don't know.
You ever thought about it?
No. I have never, the only way I thought about it is it's like, what was the last thing you ate and
Oh.
the color of your shirt?
Okay, let's play it like that.
What did I eat? It wouldn't work because it was a blue sweet potato patty
Oh, that would be an
or a
interesting
blue
stripper name.
cookie. Actually, that's right.
Blue cookie would work as a stripper name.
Probably right up
And
there with-
here's blue cookie.
not to be confused with blue waffles or whatever it's called.
Oh man. Okay, now we're gonna throw some country
Yeah.
in here. I love it.
Yeah,
It's awesome. George Strait.
yeah.
Heartland.
And again, I like quite a few of his songs.
Yeah.
Like there are quite a few. This one, I think, I'm like, there was one guy that had the kick-ass truck stereo, and I just remember he would sometimes play. I think Boot Scoot and Boogie was the main one, but I think this was one that was always played at parties. It's just a fun one.
It is a fun song.
It is a really fun song. Kind of gets the crowd pepped up and
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's your relationship with your mother-in-law? If you could describe her as some kind of animal, what kind of animal would she be?
Oh no. I don't know.
She'll
She's
never hear this podcast.
hopefully passive. I would say I don't know what kind of animal I would describe her as though. Maybe like I don't know.
Like a lamb?
Maybe. Yeah, she's very protective of her kids and her space. But I don't, passive would be the word that I would use. Yeah. I don't even know.
Do you have a good relationship with her?
No,
No?
not really, no. No. I think it could be better, but I think there were just too many years of where I felt like there was no connection. So then I really pushed back. And probably up to me now to fix that, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
What was your family life growing up? How were your parents?
Strict.
Yeah.
Was in trouble a lot. They were very strict. But you know what? They did what they did. My mom stayed home. And my dad always just did his own thing in the oil field. So, and then there's lots of age difference. Like there's like 3 grades between myself and my brother, and then 6 grades between my sister and myself, and then 10 between my youngest brother and I. So like we're friends now.
Yeah.
But there's so much difference.
Big
growing up.
age gaps.
Yeah.
To be really close as brothers and sisters.
Yeah. And like I wouldn't say we grew up privileged at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And where did you grow up?
In Brooks.
Okay.
I did grow up in Brooks. Yeah. My parents are both from the States. And so we did, like our summers were spent, a week with one set of grandparents and a week with the other, because they were complete opposite ends. Like one was Southern Idaho and one was Northeastern Montana.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had some interesting car trips, which is funny because I'm like, do I put those songs on there? But I actually don't really love them.
What did they listen to in the car?
Oh gosh, like old country, like Johnny Horton.
Oh wow.
So like one song that everybody really liked was The Battle of New Orleans.
Yeah.
Favorite. And then Dr. Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were like the ones that everybody loved. So we would listen to them on repeat, right? Like over and over and
8-track or a tape deck?
I think it was a tape deck at that point. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good times in the car.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, just a good old oldies in the car.
Yeah, and then my dad, like for a long time, smoked, and he smoked a pipe
With the windows up.
or maybe cranked like down that much. And
you're
so,
like, oh
yeah. And the funny thing is, I don't mind pipe smoke. I hate the smell of cigarette smoke. And I just remember that we would get so frustrated because there comes an age where they teach you in school how bad
Yeah.
it is to do that, right? So then he light a match to light it, and we blow it out. Oh my gosh, he must have made him so mad. Never had air conditioning. One summer we drove to Indiana, and it was so hot, and we had no AC. Like they were.
And your dad
frying
smoking a pipe in
eggs.
the car.
I think he was into cigarettes at that time. It was awful.
Oh my god. It's next song. Send Me On My Way.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rusted Root. So this one,
It's a fun little jam.
it is a fun little jam. It was on a show that the kids used to watch when they were little, and it was one that was like traveling. They talked about animals, and they really went and visited with all the people. And my kids love stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were kind of like everybody else's kids would be into like Transformers, and my kids knew every map of the world. That's right. Like they were just so different. So it's kind of like one of those memories of sitting on the couch during lunchtime, because it was usually at lunch.
Yeah.
Where we would sit and watch it. And I kind of forgot about it until one day it came on the radio. I'm like, oh yeah, I love this song. It's just got warm fuzzies attached to it. Yeah.
So mother of three boys.
Yeah.
Obviously they play sports, they're in school. What's kind of the craziest thing that you had to go fight for your kids for?
Oh gosh. Like recently?
Like, did you ever get in a fight with a teacher over your kids?
All the time. I still do. It's a regular occurrence with me. I'm pretty sure they're like, oh my God, here she comes again. Oh, it's Danielle. Like at the beginning of last year, I called, and like the principal who totally threw me under the bus that day. But I'm like, hey, here's the problem. He's like, yeah, you got this. And like I walked into that room and I walked out sobbing. It was so bad. Like I just have to always fight for my kids. They are pretty normal learners, but they need extra input sometimes. And so I know this, it's on every freaking form that I have ever filled out, because I've gone and done all the medical testing, like they've had everything done.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple what they need. Like even a pediatrician was like, I'm like, they want to medicate because his math mark is like 70%. She's like, can I see those grades again? She goes, but this is all we're asking for. And she's like, they want to medicate for that? And I'm like, yeah, so like that's the kind of stuff that I've always had to fight for. And because it's on their forms and I've done the work, I'm like, just do it. So yeah, no, I always fight. But yeah, we recently had a big one, like the beginning of last year, and then the middle of last year, there was a pretty bad one where I'm still fighting.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm like, you guys need to fix what you've done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. I'll be glad when school's finished.
Yeah.
I'll be glad when I don't.
Yeah, and you can't go into their job and have an altercation with their boss.
No, I can't. And like that's the hardest part, right? Is like I'm trying to teach my kids those kinds of things, like, and I'm trying to teach them to advocate for themselves, but it's really hard when it's not being reciprocated on the other end. And they're like, you're just being psychotic. Your kids aren't as smart as you want to think that they are. And I'm like, but when I teach them, they are. So there's a problem here.
Yeah.
I do not have an education degree. I should not be able to do this. Yeah. So yeah, no, I fight pretty hard for the kids.
I think it's great. I think it's great to fight for your kids. We're actually the last song. Can you believe that?
That is crazy.
All right. Some hip.
Oh yeah. And again, this was just scared.
Yeah.
And this one is weird that I even like it, but it's the sound, I think, because it is
It's a great
war.
acoustic.
And it's a story, which most of his songs were.
Yeah.
This was just picking one. Again, that was what it was for the day.
So all the life experiences that you've experienced and adversity and stuff that you went through in your life, what are some words of wisdom that you would maybe give somebody that was listening right now?
What is one? I would have to say, do what makes you happy, for sure. Like quit worrying about what other people think. And if you're scared, make sure that it's reasonable. And if you can get past that, it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Oh, thank you.
I think a lot of people are afraid to do a lot of things because they're so worried about something else. So it was so fun to have you on the show today, Danielle.
Thank you, Annette.
And I have this little letter that I'd like you to read.
All right.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Like, follow, and subscribe.
Boom. Thanks so much for joining me on Music Junkies
Thank
today.
you.
It was
That
so
was
fun.
That was fun.
Right? 2-hour drive. She drove for 2 hours to come see me.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it.